You've been told entrepreneurs are born with some special gene, risk-tolerant, visionary, wired differently from the rest of us. That's not true. Most of them just failed faster than everyone else and kept going anyway. This isn't another motivational reel about believing in yourself. This is the actual mechanics of how an idea turns into a company, and why almost none of them do it the way you think. 90% of startups fail, not because the founders were lazy or the market crashed. Most die because they built something nobody wanted, and then spent 18 months refusing to admit it. But here's the thing nobody tells you at the start. The failure isn't the dangerous part. What you do in the 3 months after you realize you're failing, that's the part that actually decides everything. We'll get there. First, let's kill the myth. You picture the founder having a shower-thought lightning bolt. One perfect idea, fully formed, that changes the world overnight. The guy who pitches his revolutionary app idea at every dinner party for 2 years and never builds it? He's not an outlier. He's the median case. Real entrepreneurship doesn't start with a perfect idea. It starts with a stupidly simple observation. Something is annoying, slow, or broken, and nobody's fixed it yet. Your first idea is probably terrible. That's not an insult, it's a statistic. Founders who eventually succeed usually pivot 2 to 3 times before they land on the version that works. The original pitch almost never survives contact with real customers, which is hilarious, because the entire startup mythology is built around the idea that vision matters more than adaptation. It doesn't. Adaptation is the whole game. So how do you actually go from, "I noticed a problem," to, "I have a business"? It starts with validation. And validation is not asking your friends if they like your idea. Your friends will lie to you. Real validation means finding 10 strangers willing to pay you money, or at least give you their email and their time, before you've built anything real. If you can't get 10 strangers to care, you don't have a business. You have a hobby with a pitch deck. This is where product market fit enters, and it's the single most misunderstood phrase in business. It doesn't mean people like your product. It means demand is pulling the product out of you faster than you can supply it. You'll know it when support tickets and signups outpace your ability to keep up. When growth stops requiring ad spend, because people are doing your marketing for you. Before fit, every sale feels like pushing a boulder uphill. After fit, it feels like the boulder is chasing you. Now let's talk about the part nobody explains. Money. Because most people think raising capital is the goal. It's not. Raising capital is just borrowed time, and time is the only thing that's actually scarce. Venture capital exists because building a company fast enough to matter usually costs more than a founder has in their bank account. So investors trade cash for a slice of ownership, betting that the slice will be worth more later than the cash is worth now. Here's the number that changes how you see this entire industry. Venture capitalists expect roughly 7 out of 10 investments to fail completely. Not underperform. Go to zero. The entire model is built on the 1 or 2 winners in every 10 paying for all the losses and then some. Which means the pressure on a funded startup isn't be profitable, it's get big fast or die trying. Because slow and steady doesn't return the fund. That single incentive shapes almost every reckless-looking decision you see startups make. So why does this matter to you, even if you never plan to raise a dime? Because it explains the bootstrapped alternative. Founders who grow using their own revenue instead of investor cash. Slower, yes, but they own everything. No board breathing down their neck, no clock ticking toward an exit nobody asked for. Think of venture-backed growth like a sprinter shot out of a starting gun. Explosive, thrilling, and one bad turn from a torn hamstring. Bootstrapped growth is the marathoner. Unglamorous, but still standing when the sprinters are limping. I still remember refreshing a spreadsheet at 2 in the morning, watching $41 trickle in from the first version of something I'd built, and realizing the money wasn't the win. The win was that 41 strangers had cared enough to click buy on something that didn't exist 3 weeks earlier. That feeling is the actual addiction behind entrepreneurship, not the yachts, that moment. But here's where it gets interesting, and this is the part that quietly separates the companies you've heard of from the 90% you haven't. Everyone assumes the winners had the best product. They usually didn't. What they had was distribution, a way to reach customers cheaper or faster than everyone else chasing the same market. One early social platform didn't win because its interface was superior. It won because it was only available at one university, then a few more, and scarcity made access feel like status. People didn't join a product, they joined a velvet rope. That's the twist most hustle culture content skips entirely. Product quality is table stakes, not the differentiator. The real driver of who wins isn't who builds the best thing. It's who builds the fastest loop between someone tries this and someone else hears about it. Growth loops beat great products. Every single time, at scale. Once you see that, the famous success stories stop looking like magic. A search engine won, not because it searched better in a vacuum, but because every search made the results better for the next search. A compounding loop competitors couldn't copy overnight. A rideshare app won cities one at a time, using early losses as a weapon to make waiting times so short that switching apps felt irrational. Different mechanisms, same underlying law. Whoever compounds attention fastest wins the category, even starting from a worse product. So if it's not the idea, and it's not even the product, what's actually left to control? This is the part that separates the people who make it from the people who just talk about it. Because the answer is unglamorous. It's speed of learning. Founders who win aren't smarter. They just complete the loop of guess, test, and adjust faster than their competitors, week after week, while everyone else is still perfecting a pitch deck nobody's asked to see. Imagine someone starting today with nothing but a notebook and an annoying problem they can't stop thinking about. First, they wouldn't build anything. They'd talk to 20 people who have that exact problem and shut up long enough to actually listen. Then, instead of a product, they'd fake one. A landing page, a spreadsheet, a manual version they run by hand for the first 10 customers. Because manual doesn't scale, but it does teach. Somewhere around customer 30, patterns start showing up that no amount of theorizing would have predicted. And that's when building for real finally makes sense. Money, if it comes after that. Not before, because investors fund evidence, not enthusiasm. Most people flip that order entirely. They build first, seek funding second, and find customers dead last. Which is exactly backwards. And exactly why so many well-funded companies still die with a beautiful product and nobody using it. Capital can accelerate a working engine. It cannot make a broken one run. Zoom out far enough, and entrepreneurship stops looking like a lottery and starts looking like a filtering system. One that ruthlessly removes anyone unwilling to be wrong in public, over and over, until something finally clicks. The businesses you've heard of aren't the ones that never failed. They're the ones that failed cheaply, quickly, and in private. Long before the failures got expensive enough to matter. Every billion-dollar company you can name has a graveyard of earlier versions nobody ever saw. Which means the real question isn't, what's my big idea? It's whether you can tolerate being embarrassingly wrong faster than the next person. Because that, more than funding, more than talent, more than timing, is the actual mechanism behind almost every company that made it out of the 90%. And figuring out how to build that tolerance without burning out completely? That's a different, much harder conversation. One about the psychology underneath all of this. And it's probably the one that matters most.